My upgrades are invincible. Chapter 91, Fantasy Fiction by Azazyel. It's fucking dead. I roared weakly before I slammed face first into the ground as I felt a burning sensation in my nose. Meaning I was bleeding internally from overusing my mind or mana. So I just laid there face first just outside the collapsed remains of my old house for a couple of minutes until I heard Eleanor's voice calling out. "Jake, where are you? Are you alright?" But being face down I couldn't really respond, and a minute later I heard her footsteps as she climbed over the rubble of my estate. Then I heard her pause with myself groaning with her humming, and then with a small crashing noise she jumped and landed beside my form. I felt a hand curl under my chest with another hand curling around my neck in case I fucked it up as she carefully rolled me over and then removed my helmet. With the afternoon sun's glare that was filtering through all the ashes and smoke hitting my face. "Well, you are still alive." Her hand tucked against my neck, and then her other hand rested on my head before she hummed again and then said, "Mana overuse. If that was you controlling those swords, that makes sense. A level 2 isn't supposed to be able to hurt a level 8 creature to begin with." She finished with a drawl. She removed her hands, and then I saw her take out a slightly glowing blue potion, making me groan and say through a ragged throat, "Already took one, no more." Elanor nodded, asking briskly, "Any neck injuries or anything that will get worse with being moved?" I flexed my aching body and reported calmly, "Got hit with some of the after effects of the fire head. I got some bad burns across my body under my armor. I just need my armor off and rest in a clean environment." The captain of the Rukkhadevata Familia stood up and then called out loudly, "Men, take Jake over the secondary estate. Let Lady Rukkhadevata and the healers care for him as our treasured guest." I saw another alpha male and an Amazon climb over the debris, with the Amazon whistling loudly as she inspected my form. "Wow, you got fucked up, didn't ya? Are you a higher-level adventurer who got thrown into this building during the fight like Gareth of the Loki Familia?" But before I could say anything, Elanor said calmly, "No, he is only level 2, but he killed several heads of the monster on his own. So take him away to be healed." I wasn't sure if letting myself get taken away was such a good idea, but frankly, I needed help getting fuck out of here, as I could feel the weight of the mana overuse and mana potion overdose fucking with my body. The Amazon woman's eyes widened at Eleanor's words, and I wanted to groan as I saw the baby-making genes of the Amazon come to life as she giggled and approached with evil intentions clear as day. "Aphilos, do not sexually attack another adventurer." The male elf groaned, and before the evil Amazon could sink her sensual claws into me, the elf bent over and hoisted me onto his back, armor and all, with only a small grunt of effort. "Thanks," I grunted as the elf carried me away, with that Amazon whining like a puppy who had been locked in another room away from their precious human. The elf, however, kept silent as I watched with a wry smile as the adventurers clearly began fighting in the distance for whatever the Amphisbaena had dropped with its death. The drops don't have anything to do with me. I am just glad to obviously be getting a level up out of this, I thought as I grinned at the thought of beating Alpheus' record again. And in even less time with this level up, haha. With my mind that was barely fighting off unconsciousness, I could already imagine Alphea being all pouty, if not pissed and offended, as Materia was gushing about how her man was leveling up so fast and trying to talk me up to Alphea herself. But as we got into the small portion of melon that wasn't completely glassed rubble from the Amphisbaenus elemental attacks, a firm female voice spoke. "Elf, that man on your back is a friend of ours. Where are you taking him?" I tilted my head to the side in exhaustion as Kagaya from the Astrea Familia and Tina stood in front of them. "They are members of my familia. Thanks for the help," I said as I went to move off the elf's back, but he held me firm as he spoke. "Lady Rukkhadevata has bade for him to come receive the best care her familia can provide. I, as one of her healers, cannot just hand him over to some dash." Another female voice spoke, and the elf stiffened as the weight of a divine's gaze fell on him. "Let Jake down, young elf." Astrea spoke quietly, but with her voice carrying through the sounds of crackling fires of the city of Melon burning down still. The elf, realizing he was outnumbered, slowly let go of me, and I staggered with Tamamo coming behind me, and I felt my head fall into her bosom, and at that, I just gave up and fell unconscious there, knowing I was safe with Tina and Tamamo here along with the Astrea Familia. The Astria family's whole core identity was policing adventures and living a life of justice. They were the last people in the world who would betray or hurt me for any reason. Astria watched with cold eyes as the elf hesitated in putting down Jake Barris, and she watched as Tamamo approached the elf from the back closer to Jake along with Elise, and several other of her higher-level adventurers surrounding the man while also boxing out the Amazon that followed the elf. When the elf finally acknowledged her warning, she kept a careful eye on the man as she saw Mariu, her familia's healer, checking over Jake's pulse as Tamamo moved him onto one of the extra stretchers the familia had on hand for moving wounded, and the dead out of the rubble. When Jake was moved away with Tina and Tamamo, the broken souls who were so latched onto the young man hurriedly followed. Astria finally spoke again. It's odd how the Rukkhadevata familia had a second much more fortified mansion just past the radius of the wreckage where the beast raged and caused damage. The elf sniffed and then drawled out sarcastically. The whims of the divine is unknowable. And my goddess is one for being ready for all eventualities with her foresight. Astria snorted internally at that. Foresight indeed. More like Rukkhadevata picked through the memories and dreams of some poor fool who got within her range and found out this was likely going to happen. And it gnawed as Astria deeply that she knew she wouldn't get any justice just yet for whoever had bombed the Poseidon and Hades familias while also leading that mutated boss monster out of the dungeon. How did the Amphisbaena mutate and get here to Melon? Astria asked suddenly. More to herself than anything, as she knew the elf was just a lowered member of the Rukkhadevata familia. But she was surprised when the elf shrugged and said plainly. The familias who can restrain a boss monster for the days in the dungeon to mutate it into such a beast without making the entire dungeon riot via leading a god into the dungeon is only two after all. And I highly doubt the Hera familia would do something so stupid.